Okay, well, welcome. Welcome to this MTH module, Preaching and Preachers. What I want to do is just give you a little introduction to the course to start with, so you've got a map that will show you what the module is going to look like. Now, preaching is usually taught as a skill, and there are hermeneutical skills, that is exegetical, interpretive skills involved, and there are homiletical skills, more the actual delivery that are involved. So those are important things, but this is not a hermeneutics course or a homiletics course. This is MTH level, and as such we're aiming to go deeper and do something that is really very unusual. We're going to be looking at the theology that is underpinning all that hermeneutics and homiletics, a theology of preaching and preachers. Now, what we'll see is that does mean, and we'll see, especially we get into discussions as we start rooting out consequences, this is going to be practical. But it won't be pragmatist. It's going to be theologically driven. So theologically driven practice. And there are going to be three main sections, which I hope will show you how theological this will be. And you'll see the Trinitarian structure to the module. And in these three sections, we're looking at how a theology of the gospel shapes, or should shape, preaching. The first section, we'll be looking at the revelation of the Father and preaching. The revelation of the Father and preaching. Then secondly, we'll go on to look at redemption by the Son and preaching. So the revelation of the Father, redemption by the Son and preaching. And third, we're going to look at regeneration through the Spirit and preaching. So the revelation of the Father, redemption by the Son, and regeneration through the Spirit. And what those three core areas of the being of God and the work of God in the gospel do to preaching. And in what I'm going to cover with you to start with, this first section on the revelation of the Father, let me just give you a breakdown of this first third. We're going to really put Trinitarian foundations in place here. And there are three parts to this section on the revelation of the Father we're going to look at. First, I want to give you a Trinitarian overview. An overview of a Trinitarian theology of preaching. So just give us our big picture. I'll explain why we're doing that in a bit. So an overview of a Trinitarian theology of preaching. Then we'll go on to looking at Christ as the revelation, the logos of the Father, and what that means for preaching. So an overview, then Christ as the revelation, the logos of the Father, and what that means for preaching. And then thirdly, we'll look at the Spirit and the goal of the Father's revelation and what that means for preaching. Okay? The Spirit and the goal of the Father's revelation in preaching. So an overview Trinitarian theology of preaching. The Son, Christ, as the revelation of the Father, and the Spirit and the goal of the revelation of the Father. And that makes up this first section on the revelation of the Father. Then, Dr. Bauscher is going to look with you at redemption by the Son and preaching, that second main section. Dr. Hames is going to look with you then at the third section, regeneration through the Spirit and preaching. And then the last bit of the module is really pulling it all together. Going, okay, with all that in place, what does that mean? And we're going to be seeing what it means as we go through the week. But we'll get a final chance as we wrap up to really pull it all together.